Wealth is a Choice podcast. Boom.
Let's listen to it. Let's listen to it.
Hey, John, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, James. Good to be with you.
Yeah, you too. So I'm really excited to talk to you. You run a big financial services company, and the financial services industry is broad, and I don't think everybody understands the scope of it in relation to the consumer, like where people are accessing the financial services industry. I don't think people understand. I probably don't even have a depth of full understanding of all the components of the financial services industry and where people touch those different elements. So there's wirehouses and independents and blah, blah. Can you give somewhat of an overview of what the financial services industry does and where people are touching it?
Sure. As you were asking me that question, James, I remember when I first got my first job at a bank after business school, and my grandmother couldn't understand why I couldn't work at the bank in her neighborhood in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Because for her, I was a bank teller. Because I told her I worked at a bank, and she thought I was working in a branch of a bank, and that was her view of what financial services was,
Right.
and she couldn't understand why I couldn't be closer to home. And so it took some time for her to understand why I had to travel around the world to do banking business. So for context, I've been in wealth management since 2005, and there's lots of ways to deliver advice to households related to wealth management. And there are things like banks, there are wirehouses, there are independent advisors, private bankers. These are all different terms. Financial planners. These are all different terms that people use for their titles, but ultimately are always trying to do the same thing, which is help families, help households make good financial decisions.
Right.
And how they do it, the style in which they do it, the types of solutions they come up with vary based on the organizations that they're working at. And the training that they got and what they best understand. And so, banks always have probably a more structured approach, tend to lean into more banking types of products and solutions, whether that's credit or debt types of solutions. And then there's investment banks or investment houses, which are tend to be more investment savvy and lean into the different types of investment products that are out there in capital markets. And then there's insurance companies that also provide a lot of financial planning advice, who they tend to be more biased towards insurance products and solutions. And so there's no right way to do this, but it's important for people to understand where someone sits in the organization that they work for, what their paradigm is for how to solve people's financial wellness.
Yeah. That's an interesting point, and I hadn't really thought about it, but I think about there's I think of proprietary. I don't know if that's a good way to say it anymore, because I don't know. Are there still totally proprietary companies?
Well, there are some. Even if you're very proprietary, it's probably it's a way of doing things, and some of them still exist.
Yeah.
Look, I've now been working with independent advisors for the last 6 years, and I think one of the benefits to independent advisors and the clients that they serve is that they have this choice, right? That they're not, that there's no pressure to do anything other than what's in the best interest of their client. And you built a business around this. A lot of great advisors in this country are independent just for that very reason. And so you have a bigger menu to work with, which I think households have the opportunity to.
Can you explain what that independence means?
Yeah. So
if somebody hears the word independent.
Right. Exactly. So, I think of it as independent advisors are people who have their own business and have decided what their strategy is for helping families make good financial decisions. And they are less influenced by having an employer who thinks about what types of solutions or products or style in which that advice is given. And there's benefits of working at large banks and companies because those companies have lots of resources and lots of expertise. but they also have an agenda, and rightfully so. Every company has an agenda. Independent advisors just have the ability to be a little bit more creative, to see a bigger set of solutions that are available to them to solve whatever their client needs are. And so if they have the courage to run their own business and to build a business on their own without being part of a larger institution, then they just have the opportunity to meet their clients probably where they are versus where a larger institution wants them to be.
Okay. I don't know if it was you or James Poor the other day, but one of you said something, and it made me think about this. I live in Detroit, which is the motor capital of the world. I don't know if it still is technically, but we still hang on to that. We got factories all over the place now, not always in Michigan. But anyways, I was talking with somebody that works at GM, and we were talking about electric versus gas versus hybrid. And consumers love hybrid engines because they can use the battery for a lot of the driving around town. I mean, you can get like 25 miles. You know, I could go, my work is 3 miles away. I could use the battery the entire way there, go down and get lunch or something. So consumers like hybrids, but auto companies hate hybrids the most because they have to put two engines into the same vehicle.
Right.
A battery and a gas one. I would think you running an independent firm, in James, either you or James mentioned something that made me think about this. I never thought about it before. It is very complicated, I think, to run an independent firm because it's almost like you've got two engines. Yeah. You're developing something that completely supports people in their business, running their business, and you've got the entire regulatory aspect that you have to oversee. At the same time, you're trying to help people be as independent as they can be.
Yeah. So it's a great point. It's like, when you're a hammer, everything is a nail. And it's easier to just be a hammer because you know what you do.
Yeah.
And with choice comes complexity, right?
Yeah.
And it's the issue that these hybrid cars have is that you got to build two different types of engines. But you get a better outcome, right? The consumer gets a better outcome because they have choice. They have the ability to sort of mitigate the different types of costs or issues that may come with a gas car versus an electric car. Look, we've chosen, or independent advisors have chosen, to have that choice, and we think it's a better way to do business. But it comes with increased complexity because you have to just be that much more aware of all the options. The less options you have, the easier it is to run your business because if you only have 3 flavors of ice cream versus 100, like it's the same concept, right? And then you also have this paradox of choice where the more you have to think through, or how quickly do you get to the right outcome? Yeah. But ultimately, it's our philosophy, at least at our company, that giving enough choice allows you to do what's always in the best interest of your client, allows us to do what's always in the best interest of the independent advisors that we serve, and we just think that's just a better business and there's value, but it comes with increased complexity.
Yeah, it sure does. I think with lower choice, like the 3 types of ice cream, it's all about volume, and I think with high choice, it's probably all more about quality and the right fit. You know, the specific puzzle.
That's right. And look, in any ice cream cars, anytime you give people more options to get to a good outcome, you're serving people better, right? And people like that. People who have the ability they have more options to solve whatever it is they're trying to solve for. Yeah. Usually leads to better outcomes.
Yeah. I don't know if you would have. I'm going to ask it because you might know. I don't know where you'd get access to this information, but I'm kind of curious. I'm a huge fan of education, and if I could map out like the American's ability to be educated around money, and how much of that is satisfied in one way or the other through the financial services industry and how we go about doing that, and basically the importance of the role that the advisor and whatever entity they're working within has, and how much more educated the American consumer is because of all of them.
Yeah. So look, I am always concerned about financial literacy in our country. I think our school systems probably fail at this. Some schools are getting better at it, and school systems aware.
Some states are making it mandatory.
Correct.
Right?
It's sort of, but you got to be lucky to have gotten that kind of literacy around finance, and we have too many people who don't understand the consequences of some of their decisions when it comes to their finances, and so. This is an important role for a financial advisor, although they probably didn't get into the business to do this, is to educate people, because it's complicated stuff. Things like interest rates and markets and debt and the cost of things, and how to do projections on what life is going to look like, and Social Security and insurance. All of those things are complicated, and how they play with each other makes everything even a lot more complex. And so most households, most people don't have either the experience, the expertise, or just even the capacity to fully understand, to make good decisions, which ultimately, as you know, becomes the most important role of a financial advisor to households is just enlightening people on the consequences of the decisions that they make, the options that they have, because without that education, without any education, we make bad decisions, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so, while financial advisors didn't realize they were signing up to be teachers, the best ones, in my experience, are usually educators first, just to educate people on risk and how to think about risk and how to do forward projections. And I only hope to be able to support advisors in doing that, because our school system doesn't really provide that.
Yeah. I hope it does. It's starting to pick up, but it's challenging. Not that you say, like, financial advisors maybe didn't get into the business to be an educator. How many teachers got into the business to be an educator about money?
Yeah, I know.
I mean? Like,
also
it's
true.
challenging. Yeah,
very correct.
But one of my most influential classes in high school was typing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I became a very fast typer, and we got it on a laptop. We're typing all the time. And there's just I learned the core basic principles of where all the keys are lined out, and so it's an easy thing to do. Typing, of all things. So the thing that I use most from high school, probably. But if it were a class on money that gave the basic instruction about money, that would be a skill just like typing that you can learn at an early age. And then those fundamental principles you carry forward forever.
Yeah, and I feel like I have 2 teenage kids now, and there are just some practical things that we don't teach any kid about anymore. And we go out of our way in our house to, can you cook? Can you change a tire? Can you balance a checkbook? There's so many things that our school systems don't necessarily solve for, and some of that job is us as parents. But typing would be one of those things that it's these kinds of practical things that help you really get through life aren't prioritized enough.
Yeah. There is more of a shift away from not everybody needs a college degree, and I think that's a good thing. So hopefully some of these other classes that kind of got pushed out because we're all working toward core requirement for higher education, college, and all that, is not seen as the only level of success of graduating from high school.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'd like to see more of those other options be available.
I fully agree.
Yeah, I think we're headed there. Yeah.
Well, and even more so now with the way AI is going to impact job sectors, and I think it's shined the light on other types of vocations that will be great opportunities for people to build careers. So I see it the same way.
Well, I wanted to ask you about AI. So I think this is so cool. I don't know if you're freaked out by it or excited about it, but so you're running a large organization in the financial services industry. And how long have you been president?
So I've been the president since last April of 25, so not quite a year. Still a freshman president.
Running the ship in the dawn of AI, the biggest technological change in our lifetimes probably. It's going to be going on for a while, So I was hearing there's no the AI race is not suddenly going to be won. This thing is just going to be this evolution that evolves. And you get to take on this job right in the very dawn of this disruption. And I think that's extremely exciting for you in this environment. What do you think about it?
Yeah,
Because it's not like you can go into the shop like, I know exactly what I want to do.
correct. Correct. So I graduated college. It was the end of the dot-com years.
Okay.
And I remember coming out of college, everybody wanted a dot-com job or an internet job, and every company was scrambling to figure out what their e-commerce strategy was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, that was the AI movement that was going to be so disruptive, and companies were going to fail or succeed based on these things, which happened. And then, of course, there was a ton of disruption. I mean, up until AI, the internet was, in my opinion, the most disruptive or technological innovation that happened, at least in my professional career. And now no one uses the term e-commerce anymore. Or .coms are, like, no one says that anymore.
So old.
I accidentally said to my kid last week, surf the web. He's like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, I'm sounding old. But these were all the terms.
Right.
And all that stuff just became technology. Right. It just became normal technology. And at some point, we'll stop just talking about AI, and AI just becomes how all technology does. We work with a lot of technology partners, and we work with a lot of investment and financial services types of providers. But almost all of them have their own AI strategy or are incorporating AI somehow into everything that they do.
Okay.
And so at some point, we're making technology strategies, and whatever ones are utilizing AI in the most effective way will win, and that's how we think about it. I've learned trying to project or predict what the world's going to look like because of AI is no one's qualified to do it, particularly me. And we know it's all going to be different in 5 years, 10 years for sure, but how different it is, I don't know. And I just know that the companies that are open-minded as to how to think about where they can use it to benefit their business. And for us, it's all about how do we do things better? How do we do things faster, in a more efficient way? How do we get better outcomes to our clients? How do we, as a company, get more done? That's the excitement of it. So, you have to embrace these things, and we are super excited about it. I think it's incredible. Already the type of progress that we've made and the great things AI can bring to us. There'll be some collateral damage in any type of technology development. I'm not going to predict what those are. I don't know. Whatever it is I say, I'd be wrong. But it's moving fast, right? And so as a leader, it's something we spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time getting educated, understanding how it impacts all the different stakeholders that we have, and knowing that the companies that embrace AI the most will be the ones that ultimately will win.
Has it brought about a sense of urgency or an invigoration into the daily routine? So,
there was, I saw like a comic strip recently, and it was like a bunch of CEOs in a room, and it's like, who wants to use AI? And everyone's hand goes up. And is AI the most important thing we're doing? Everyone's hand goes up. And then the question is like, what are we going to use AI for? And no one's hand goes up. So, and this was similar, exactly what I experienced during the dot-com years. I remember CEOs were losing their jobs because they couldn't articulate a dot-com or an e-commerce strategy. So look, rushing to something just because everyone else is doing it is never a good strategy.
Okay.
But being positioned to embrace it, to be excited about it, to figure out how do we use it. It's the same way I have the same urgency around any technology, though. It's no different. And obviously keeping an eye on what the rest of the industry is doing and how regulators think about it is really important in our industry as well.
Does it change the leadership, the type of person that would be successful at leading a company in this era?
More and more, I think companies, CEOs, presidents need to be tech forward in how
Okay.
they think about things. I think it's really hard and there are not, and some executives are better at this than others, but I think it's a requirement now for someone in my role, in a CEO type of role, in any type of C-suite role. If you don't have a good technology foundation, understanding, openness to it, I think it's just hard to make tough decisions.
Okay.
Because technology investments are expensive. They're usually long-term investments, and so you got to get it right, because the cost of undoing something or switching in a couple of years can be really expensive. And so the ability to make good decisions around technology requires a high level of expertise, and if you don't have that, you'll make mistakes. And technology mistakes are some of the costliest mistakes that I've seen companies make.
Okay. Just curious on, there's a lot of tech at work. What do you do as a leader to help keep the human connection going too?
Yeah. Well, we say around here, human intelligence first, and then artificial intelligence. And especially in our business, we work in a service business where we serve independent advisors who have a very human relationship with their clients. And so it's really important to me that we have a culture of relationships matter, people matter. And you can have the best technology in the world, but if you don't have the right people, you're still not going to win.
Okay.
And so I want tech-enabled people, not people-enabled tech, and so there's a difference there. And so we, culture matters, being in the office matters, making sure we have the right managers and leaders who also have a sense of value around developing talent, around creating a team spirit. That will still, the most successful companies will still be will have great cultures, will have very strong team dynamics. And so we're still people first.
Can you explain the tech-enabled people concept?
Yeah, people who have the right technology tools at their disposal, people who know how to use technology to reach their goals, to do their job in the most effective way,
Okay.
or to deliver an experience to whoever their stakeholders are. We can't, we need to use technology and harness it, all of its capabilities, but people need to deliver that. It
Okay.
can't be the other way around.
Okay. And you guys just hired Angela Xavier, and she came from a hospitality background.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that's who you guys sought, that's who you sought to hire with that background in an era of AI.
Yeah, well, look,
Which is cool. Yeah.
As you know, in our business, the people stuff still matters.
Yeah.
And people still need to answer a phone.
Yeah.
And people need to understand what someone's trying to deal with, right?
Right.
And if there's a level of emotional understanding of what someone's trying to deal with, we'll hit our service levels, right? We'll get the experience that we're trying to curate for our clients. But those service people need great technology to deliver it. Technology doesn't solve all of our issues. And look, Angela is a great example of someone who understands what a great experience is and how important that is. And it can't just be the person. It's a combination of, to my comment earlier, about tech-enabled people.
Yeah. So I'm really glad we're talking today. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, of course. It's always good
It's
to be
fun. I talked to Mike Pedlow. He's with compliance, and that was all about education. And you mentioned the importance of education in the school system and
Yeah.
everything. And that I love the compliance team here. I mean, one of the things I love is that you can create content and you can have content go through the system and be approved and be used. And I think it'd be horrible to be if the financial services industry is not able to output content, because we learned so much through our conversation with clients and just being in the
sure.
business for a while. Like, I know a lot more about money now, being 54, than I did when I got into the industry when I was in my 20s. And it's nice to be able to share some things that I've learned. And then Mark, we're talking about people and the human connection and things like that. It's fun to talk to you. After I've had those conversations, you're the president of of the ship and hear those same themes coming through.
Yeah, well, look, those are all great leaders,
Yeah.
and I feel very grateful to work for them. But look, it's so important for people to take their wealth seriously, right? And it's hard because people work so hard to build up a balance sheet, to save money. Aside from choosing who you spend your life with, the decisions you make around your wealth, or it's probably the second most, and your health are probably top 3 things you got to get right in this world. And and the financial stuff needs content.
But what is like every New Year's resolution? It's either money or health or happiness, right?
That's
It
it.
seems like it's one of those those are the top 3. And talking about education in the school, what kind of baffled me always is that what do we spend? 12 years to getting through high school, and some go on to college. So 12 years minimum of education to learn, I guess, how to function in society and supposedly how to have a career and take care of yourself. But of those 12 years, like how much of that is spent around what do you do with the money that you earn in order to actually be successful with it? It's kind of wild, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. You hope you come out of it just knowing how to make good decisions and ask the right questions and have the ability to process and understand. That's what education does, though.
Yep. Let's see what else I got. What challenges do you think the industry has to get right to continue serving Americans now in this era that we're in?
Yeah. Well, look, every generation has their own set of economic challenges or economic opportunities. So much of the wealth of this country is still in the baby boomer generation, which is still mostly retiring now. Mm-hmm. And how those people grew up, how they thought about money, the opportunities that they had, the markets that they experienced, is different than what the next generation will have. Mm-hmm. Interest rates will look different. The opportunities to invest in different markets will look different. Mm-hmm. So they'll need different types of advice. And do advisors, the people giving that advice, are they able to shift paradigms based on the generation that they're talking to? Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that I think that's really important is that because these baby boomers have so much of their wealth, at some point that wealth moves to other generations. And at some point, how you spend your money is a reflection of someone's values, right? Okay. What their priorities are, what their outlook is about the future, what they want to save for. And look, baby boomers are making very different decisions about family, or made very different decisions about families, careers, work-life balance than younger generations are. Yeah. And so the younger generations are going to look for advice that they want to hear, that's relevant to the reality of what they're dealing with. Okay. People switch jobs a lot more than they used to. Mm-hmm. People have gig activity versus other generations. People think differently about having kids, about getting married. Do the new generations of advisors have the ability to have that level of empathy or operate at a different paradigm? Yeah, will be a challenge depending on where advisors sit in terms of how they grew up in the business.
I think it'll be a challenge for the advisors to be able to embrace the difference, but also provide the guidance, the leadership, and the education to make decent decisions. I remember my grandma grew up in the Great Depression. We'd go visit her, and she'd have you might have seen this with that generation, she'd have the ketchup bottle upside down in the fridge, so crusty you could hardly get anything else out of it, but she wouldn't open the new bottle until you got that last little drop out. So they experienced something horrific, and it never left them.
That's right.
They always remembered it. And so right now, I do see a lot of younger generation sports betting. It's all over the place. Yes. The whole GameStop thing. Yeah. In cryptocurrency. Yep. Some wonderful usage for it, and some just straight up gambling. aspect of it. And so then they inherit this money, they receive this money, and I wonder how many of them, and that is their culture. You know what I mean? Like
totally.
a lot of them, that is their culture. That's their
right.
That's their experience. Now that I've, I was gambling with $1,000, and now I get to gamble with 100,000.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I have 2 teenagers, and I'm trying to incent them to save money. I'm incenting them to understand markets, and so I'm opening up 2 small investment accounts for them, and if they contribute, I told them I would give them, I don't know, 3 times whatever they put in, I'll put into it. But I want them to, learn about stocks and and brands that they're familiar with, whether it's a Microsoft or a Tesla. Yeah. But already my son's like, well, what about Bitcoin and these things that I'm like, I don't know if there's room in that in our portfolio. But it's it'll be a thing. But it's why it's just so important to be aware of what's changed from the last generation.
I did the same thing. So my kids are almost 23 and 21 now, but they didn't have a bank account until they got to high school. Right. They had a piggy bank and they had a brokerage account.
Yeah, oh, there you go.
And when they put money, a few times a year, they dump out their piggy bank. Whatever they put in, we matched. And then we'd buy stock usually. Yeah. Because the stock created a much more tangible connection.
That's right.
And to get the mind thinking about investing than if it was like a mutual fund or something.
That's right.
They didn't have any association with it. But one morning, Chris and I were having coffee down in the lower patio, and my younger son Owen came down, and he was, I don't know, like 8 or 9 years old at the time, really young. And he came down, we were having coffee. He said, "Hey, I couldn't sleep all night. I was so excited." Like, "What's going on, Owen?" "Well, Nintendo's coming up with a new game, a new thing, a Switch or something in 3 months." And I kept thinking last night, I want to take some money out of my piggy bank and put it in the brokerage account and buy Nintendo stock because I want to buy it before it comes out because I think it's going to go up in value. And when it comes out, I'll have made some profit. And I'll feel like the profit I made just paid for the Switch. And I know you won't let me sell it to go buy it, but in the same time, I'll feel like it bought it for me. And just that he's thinking about all this stuff, I'm like, hell yeah. That's what we were hoping for.
That's how we teach our kids.
Yeah.
That's right. Good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it turned out. And you know what? They had some money by the time they got to college. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Good for you.
On that note, I did want to ask you about if you were explaining to a young person that was interested in getting into the financial services industry today, what would you say to them, or what guidance would you give them, or what would you think that future might look like?
Yeah, first of all, our industry doesn't have enough planners, right? And whether it's a CFP or some other type of planning profession, we need more of them.
Okay.
The industry needs more of them, and that is really the advice I find households want to pay for. Getting investment advice is part of that.
Okay.
But the real value that people think they have a financial advisor for is sort of broader planning.
Okay.
And I think there's great opportunities for people who understand financial concepts, who can demonstrate a prioritization of a client and understand what their needs are, and work with them to try to solve problems. And planners tend to be really good at this. And so I think that's the best way to get into this. In fact, it's the only way that people should get into this industry is through that sort of planning approach. And so whether you're a CFP or a lawyer or an accountant, some type of profession around that.
Okay.
Because you need to really understand someone's wealth from a holistic perspective, and it gives you the most fluency on the types of ways to help people make good decisions.
Okay. So people that are interested in getting in, they might be drawn because they, bought some meme stock in college. But if you want to get in long term, make a meaningful difference, don't let that be your primary focus. Look at how do you help people get from A to B from a holistic standpoint.
I think if you want to be a successful financial advisor, if you want to be an investor, running with meme stocks, knowing
no.
which meme stocks, but that is a different career.
Yeah.
And there's wonderful careers being investors, whether it's as a trader or an investment banker or a manager of some portfolio. Like, if you like picking meme stocks, I encourage you to do that. It's probably not the right path to be a financial advisor if that's your thing.
Yeah. I've got a friend that he runs an organization down by Detroit, and they're moving locations into near the center of Detroit, and he's going to see that operation go through. He's at the tail end of his career. He's going to see that operation go through. It's a huge endeavor, and then they will permanently have this structure near downtown Detroit, and I'm just so happy for him. I think like this is a phenomenal legacy to leave this organization you've been part of for such a long time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I hope they put a statue up of him, when he's done. But I think about, I am excited for you in your job in this era because you're beginning your career as a president of an organization in a really wild and interesting new era.
Yeah.
And that can never be taken away. If however long you're going to be in this career, you began this thing in the very dawn of AI. And
which is super exciting.
that's going to be a legacy.
Totally.
Yeah.
Me too. I have the same excitement, and and I know it'll be very different than what it is today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's in good hands. So
Thank you, James. Appreciate that.
I've got one more question for you.
Sure.
But is there anything else that comes to mind that you?
No, this has
wanted to
been
mention?
great. These are all like great topics to riff on, and I could do this all day with you.
That's cool. Thanks. The name of this podcast is
Wealth is a choice. Boom.
And to me, wealth means abundance. It doesn't always mean money. A lot of times in the discussion, it is money, but it doesn't always. Sometimes it's health, fitness, spirituality, community, family.
Yeah.
But my question I like to ask people at the end is, do you think wealth is a choice? In whatever manner wealth means to you at this moment.
No one's ever asked me that question, but I will. I think lots of things are a choice in life, and at some point, you grow up and you learn happiness is a choice, being healthy is a choice, and I guess being wealthy is a choice too, and it's a choice, but it's not just a choice, right?
Okay.
Because everyone would choose yes.
Okay.
Right? And so, but not everyone gets the wealth, the health,
True.
the happiness. And so, but if you believe it's in your control, that you're empowered to have a certain level of wealth and a certain level of comfort, that is 100% within somebody's control if they're willing to put the work and make the hard decisions and make good decisions along the way. And I think it's really hard to detach wealth, health, happiness. Those are all choices, because the people who enjoy their wealth and who are grateful for it tend to also be really intentional about their health and about their personal life and their personal decisions. And the other thing is wealth. I found that wealth is should never be the goal. It should be an enabler of health, of happiness, of a full life. I'm always concerned about people who just prioritize getting to a number or just having wealth as that being sort of the end all, and because I don't know if you get fulfillment with just that. And so it's one thing to have wealth; it's another thing to feel wealthy. And I encourage people to try to feel wealthy, and that's probably is a choice. That's beyond just making good money decisions.
It's really interesting as you're saying this. We work with people managing their money in the financial services industry, we see them grow and develop this money over a period of years. I think a lot of times somebody might look at somebody that's wealthy or out in the headlines of the media, and rich people are assholes or something like that, you know, and there are some that probably are, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But you're talking about health, happiness, and wealth, and the behaviors for achieving those are very similar.
Yep.
And so a lot of the people that we get to work for, they have these phenomenal behaviors of happiness, health, and leads to more wealth. And they're wonderful, amazing people.
Yeah.
And it is a very balanced life.
And those are the people you love to work with, and you love to see them enjoy being wealthy and healthy. And
so a lot of the people that I come across that have some decent amount of money, they didn't start that way.
Correct.
But that was the choices they made. But it is well-rounded.
Yeah.
And those are just the behaviors that they had throughout their career, which also led to having some level of financial comfort as well.
Yeah, which is great. And then they tend to produce or have the effect on other people, whether it's their kids or other people in their community, on what I would call the more right way of doing things in life. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's great.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate
James.
it, man.
This has been a lot of fun.
It's
Thanks
an honor.
for spending some time with me here. This has been great.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
All right, my man.
Awesome.
You do well.
Thanks,
Thank
you too.